Hey, Dave.
Yes, Powder.
What tabletop role-playing game does Karl Marx play?
Tabletop game does Karl Marx play? We don't script this, by the way. He just throws this at me. Warhammer 40,000?
I mean, it's just D&D, but he's disabled the class system. That one actually comes from A Dragon Walks Into a Bar, 300 plus one-liners, zingers, and jokes that will slay by Jeff Aldrich and John Taylor. A lot of good stuff in there and a lot of...
So while you're supposed to be quote-unquote doing work, you wandered over to something in the section.
I make sure that I have a good idea of the stuff that I'm shelving in my section, okay?
I mean, it's fair. It's fair to know.
And with that, I close the notebook because I don't have any notes for today. This is all the Dave show. Speaking of which, hey everyone, I'm Butter.
I'm Dave, man.
And yeah, so Dave, I'm gonna let you take the lead on this one. I've had the fortune and misfortune to be getting a car with all of the adulting stuff that entails. So literally, my entire day I've been stressing myself sick. So Dave, take it away, and I will be along for the ride, grabbing our unwilling viewers by the hand along in your wake.
So a lot of recent things have happened, and you know, much respect to those who passed away recently, celebrities and the like. But at the same time, a music award that is very controversial occurred, and it had something happen in it that very much pertains to us here on the Nerd Glasses. And it is that idea that Tyler, the Creator, a rap artist, won the award for Best Rap Album for his album most recently. And he went on stage with his mother and one of his friends, and a very emotional, heartfelt speech. And then he went over and acknowledged his friend who's been supporting him for so many years. And he went to hug him. And then I realized something flashed into the frame of camera. So I went back and I watched it. That man is sitting at the Grammys with a Nintendo Switch.
Good for him.
Which means that he's at the Grammys not watching the Grammys.
I mean, mood. You know, Tyler, the Creator is all of us. Unless he's saying his friend.
Tyler, the Creator, it's his friend.
His friend.
Now, Tyler, the Creator himself was performing that night, and he did a very good job because they then watched.
I now imagine the performing while still on the Switch the entire time and just half-assing it while playing Breath of the Wild or something.
But it just struck me so funny that you know, celebrities' friends are just like us, bored about what our friends are doing and unengaged, and not at all taking interest in whatever until they hear their name and you're suddenly like, what?
Sure, I'll watch your Twitch show, whatever. No hard feelings.
Not at all a bit of bitterness. No,
I'm more upset that I left my soda in the car.
Well, I mean, if you want some of mine, it's peach Sprite. But
that's okay.
So recently, I know you took to Netflix and you watched a show that I watched and then rewatched, and then I'm in my third view through, just leaving it in the background.
Really?
I mean, I'm playing other stuff, but I'm just keeping it as background noise because hour-long episodes mean that there's infinitely less hoopla with Hulu.
Yeah.
Or Netflix.
Yeah.
But because God knows I forget that those two apps are different. Just let me watch my BBC shows in peace. But so the Witcher.
Yep.
Got an adaptation. It was a book.
Yep.
Then it's a very successful
episode. So books first. I think starting back in. I want to say the first one came out in the late 80s. Or so. It's been quite a while by Andrzej Sapkowski. Might be Sapkowski. I'm not positive. But Polish pronunciation. Originally written in Polish, brought into English, and then the basis of the really successful Witcher video game series. Hey, you there with the Insane Games TV chat? You hush over there. Is that you?
Maybe it was. Maybe it was him.
Are
maybe
you
just
Dan? Double fisting chats here?
Maybe I'm carrying a lot of stuff today.
But made into especially The Witcher 3. I've heard was the one that the first Witcher games were good, but The Witcher 3 is really can just be standalone, does really well. And what The Witcher games did was that they took the setting, they took the characters, and kind of did their own thing.
Yes.
The TV series, the Netflix series, went back and decided to pull more from the source material. Specifically pulling from the first 2 books, The Last Wish and Sword of Destiny.
Yes.
For those not familiar, there are 8 Witcher books right now. At least translated into English, there are 8. I don't know if the number is slightly different in Polish or whatever.
I mean, look, because I did a little bit of research on that because I wanted to know which one was the actual first one.
Yeah.
Because there was
there's like what you'll see on the spines of the books is introducing The Witcher, The Last Wish, Tales of the Witcher, Sword of Destiny, and then there's 1 through 5. I know the Blood of Elves is the first. I can't tell you the rest off the top of my head. But it's number 1. It's like a 5-book arc. And while I believe that they each kind of still have their own thing, they tie into each other more tightly than just the mythos of The Witcher. And then after that 5 books, the one that came out most recently was, I believe, Season of Storms, which actually takes place before most of these, but it's the most recent. So the publisher, Orbit, actually recommends reading them in publication order. Like, yes, this takes place before then, but you're going to get a lot more out of it, being more familiar with the setting and the characters and so forth. Short answer, start with The Last Wish, and then Google it from there.
Which is, again, literally, The Last Wish. But it's the first book. Great, you're giving me a stop-go. Do I turn left? Right.
In the words of the poet, every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end. So the series is based off of kind of those first 2 books. It's an 8-episode series, correct?
Yes.
I have to ask because I'm only 5 episodes in. But yeah, so I think it was cool that first off, when they made the games, that they gave themselves the freedom to not try to stick to the plot of the books, to instead do it as a loose mythology adaptation of the property, so that they could tell their own story in a way that benefits telling it in a game. And we talked about this a few weeks ago when it comes to adapting video games to movies and the different narrative challenges that exist herein. And so by taking the setting that exists but telling their own story, they're able to craft a story that more befits a video game.
Yes.
Whereas the series can benefit from the tight plotting that the books have. And again, this still kind of cherry picks and grabs bits from others. It grabs from little plot lines throughout, but it still benefits from that having gone before it.
I found an interesting article where IGN was able to corner the director of the showrunner for The Witcher and ask, so it's because it's clear if you play the game and you read the books and you watch the TV show that it draws from the books, not the game. And the showrunner did say, it's a challenge that American audiences mostly know about Geralt and the lore from the video games. They said, but to quote, the answer to why the show adapts from the books is very simple. Though the video games are based on the books, they are an adaptation of the books, and for the showrunner, it didn't make sense to make an adaptation of an adaptation.
Yes, also
when
true.
You have the base text, and the base text lend to a television episodic series,
which is
in
also
fact that the way they're translated, especially
that like you see a bit with Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, where it was, hi. No, that was totally fine. That was just really funny. So it was a radio series first, but canonically everyone considers Hitchhiker's Guide to be the books, which was turned into a BBC series, which had its own way of kind of dealing with things.
Yeah.
And the books were later turned into a movie, which I'm not going to take sides on. Okay, fine. I enjoyed the movie. I'm in the minority there. I think it's perfectly fine. But again, it's an adaptation that decided to go in a different direction because of its medium. And it didn't pull from the BBC series. It pulled straight from the books.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to kind of see the different branches that you can take from a base text. See also the numerous adaptations of any Shakespeare. Let's say Romeo and Juliet. Someone could make an adaptation of West Side Story, but they're probably not gonna. They're gonna go back to Romeo and Juliet first and then adapt it.
it's one of those things that like everyone always thinks that they can make a better adaptation of Shakespeare, especially because it's free. So
yes,
you can
public domain powers a lot.
Like you
especially as Disney works to further keep anything else from ever falling into public domain ever. But yeah. I had words, they escaped me. But
we have one character that's really good, Disney. I'll take it, but I don't want to sell it. No, it's fine. We'll buy it.
Yeah. And so, but Shakespeare is a really good example, but going back and wanting to adapt the base text. So again, whether it's something that's public domain like Shakespeare or, say, Monkey's Paw, I've seen a lot of adaptations of, or whether it's something where you get the licensing rights for the Witcher novels. I think it's a good move to kind of go back to the base, especially when the base is a series of novels. There is a really deep well to draw from and gives you a lot of material to go with.
And it's... I respect the idea that, why adapt an artist's adaptation, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Another article that flew through my social media that I absolutely had to write down, the quote from Kotaku, taking a shot at their audience here, which is a little bit risky in my opinion on their part, but the title is Animal Crossing fans are so desperate for news that they're analyzing obscure stickers. Now, intellectual properties, and especially, things that have a following or things that have a story, a through line, stuff like that, you want your audience to be well informed to your idea so that you don't surprise them, a la, like, say, originally a Pokemon.
Yeah.
Where you made a lot of changes and it shook a lot of your the fandom, but because they'd prepped everyone ahead of time, you didn't buy the game and then realize, what do you mean?
Yeah.
Like, Jim Sterling constantly bitched about Ekans wasn't in the game, but, like...
Yeah, you knew that going in.
But whereas, this game is, the stickers hold many secrets, says Demon Dragons. But in this case, they're introducing whole new characters to the universe and new, like... Do you play Animal Crossing? Do you know?
I do not. No, I don't.
So it's basically...
I can identify with the whole analyzing things really closely because for a while I was pretty active with American Truck Simulator.
Yeah.
It's been a while since I played, but at one point they came out with like an anniversary skin, and one of them had like a whole bunch of trucks lined up, and people are like, "That's a Volvo VNL. It's confirmed!" And people are like, "No, that was like the stock art. Like this is the photo that they pulled it from." And like the mods were like, "Okay, not confirmed, guys. I know we're working on the licensing and everything, but we have nothing to announce on that. Please stop. Please. You're scaring us.
Please stop it, Internet."
So I can 100% identify with the obsessively looking at every little thing. What has it been with Animal Crossing?
So they released this looking stickers for the Switch. It's basically stickers that go around the case.
Okay.
And people enhance, and they enhance to what essentially is like almost unrecognizable square pixel bullshit, and they're trying to analyze what characters have returned from previous games. So your friends... So the premise of Animal Crossing is you are in control of this town.
Yep.
Or city, as some of the titles allow you to. But there are certain characters that are pseudo-celebrities in the universe that will be there whether you want them to be or not.
Okay.
There's the Mafia Don, Tom Nook, who owns almost all the buildings, and then conveniently, with the second you move there, you owe him money.
Yeah.
The celebrity singer and
because
performer,
that's how the plot happens.
Oh, yes. The celebrity singer KK Slider is definitely going to be making a return, and I cannot wait to blast more of his tunes. It looks like the Able sisters from previous titles are going to be there.
So this idea of like there's characters that sometimes return, sometimes don't, and people have just like honed in on this
to figure out which ones are, and then ones that they don't recognize, and now they're theorizing about sort of nature they have. Are they villagers or are they just visitors? Are they specialized, only once a week they come and they're selling you a thing, or are they visitors that only appear in certain places, so they're like making
based on one shot of
visual.
a character.
Yep.
visually that is on a skin that is officially for this game, and one that they haven't seen before, like, okay, this is something that's going to be in the game, they're making whole new things. Okay, this now flashes me back to when I was in the My Little Pony fandom. When there was one character that was like in the background of a couple shots and has novels of stories written about them because someone sees them in the background and says, oh, Star Wars, I guess, is actually the first canonical example of that with in the Cantina. Wow, each of these people have a story, and sure enough, by the time 1997 rolled around, all of them did. You laugh.
I laugh just because,
Tales of Mos Eisley Cantina, collection of short stories. Look it up.
Oh, I have a lot of those. My more favorite one is the Tales from Jabba's Lair.
Okay. Yep.
Because I really like the idea that all of those bounty hunters, well, the bounty hunters are the ones that I
enjoy the most.
More.
Yeah.
With the fact that they have a backstory instead of just being like, you there, you have a big gun, come stand over here.
Yeah. I will say it has been more like rigor mortis. Welcome to the stream. No, I haven't been active in the My Little Pony fandom in quite some time. I remember my time in it fondly, but moving on.
What the whole gist of this reminds me of is how many video games did the directors, the producers, the graphic artists, all these things, they kept very mum about it. And then people ran straight away with everything and set this expectation that was not only nigh unreachable, but not the project itself.
Yeah.
Kingdom Hearts 3 comes to mind because it just kept getting delayed, so people kept building up the expectation, although Square Enix did a very good job of kind of, to excuse the colloquialism, but dumping out their purse to be like, by the way, this is what it is, just stop it.
Speaking of delays, did we cover the newest delay last week?
We can rehash it if we did.
Cyberpunk 2077 got pushed back to October instead of April.
I don't think we mentioned that one.
Okay, we'll get to that in a minute. Let's finish talking Animal Crossing because I don't want to go off on tangents and try to breadcrumb our way back.
No. So just the whole idea is that Nintendo is very dangerous with how they let their fandoms wander away with these things by not giving them much information. And fortunately,
the
Nintendo's...
thing is that usually makes really good word of mouth. Does it always reflect what the and it's a balancing act of if you're transparent the whole time, whatever, it doesn't get the rampant speculation and the enthusiasm, because part of it is that people love feeling like Sherlock Holmes trying to figure stuff out from one tiny speck of information, of evidence, and that enthusiasm can carry things really far. That said, it can backfire on what the game does. Whereas if you're completely open with something in your process the entire way through, it doesn't leave as many surprises for the game. People that are out there can be totally spoiled on it, but if they want to, they can. Okay, we didn't mention Cyberpunk last week, so we'll definitely mention that today. But when the game comes out, there's not this disappointment in the game. Mass Effect Andromeda had a ton of stuff leading up. Okay, bad example. There was disappointment in the game. In general, there's it sets good expectations for what people can expect from the game by having a press account, say Twitter account, and a lot of press releases that keep people up to date on the development and what they can expect from it. And again, Nintendo does much the opposite. So when a tiny shred comes out, like this sticker for Animal Crossing, enhance, 15 layers of magnification. Show me.
It also reminds me of, speaking of not giving people much information, was accessories ruining things for games. So, for example, that Switch cover,
actually,
could potentially have spoiled a plot point because you're now familiar with this character that you're supposed to get introduced to. A la in the same way, and speaking of Nintendo, Blizzard did not confirm that Overwatch was going to come to the Switch until Amazon accidentally listed the Switch case that had the Overwatch logo on it early. And then they were forced to then react and come up with a statement
catch up. Yeah.
Which is one of those ideas of, like, get your shit together. Like,
yeah, and but the thing is that third parties are really hard to control with that kind of thing, because if you get that license out there to try to get I don't know, Mad Catz to make you a guitar controller for when you bring Rock Band back for Rock Band 4 or whatever. You know, unfortunately, this kind of thing happens, but you usually do see it with that, like, art getting out there, the stickers, kind of things like that, the little inconsequential things that you need to have ready to launch at the same time in order to get the most out of that day one excitement. But it is more ears that you whisper your secret into, and that's more mouths that can absolutely let something slip.
So that's the idea that, like, Nintendo always plays that dangerous game with their fandoms where they release the title of a thing or something else. Bethesda's playing a bit of a I'm saying on that side with the fact that they released the fact that there's definitely going to be a next Elder Scrolls game. Here's a picture, and nothing else. Like,
yeah, and I mean, like, to some extent, people can be like, "Yay, Elder Scrolls." But then, yeah, people can, if they, people can look into and try to be like, okay, so knowing what I know about the geography of the Elder Scrolls world, where does this one seem to take place? You know, Skyrim is different from other locations in the world that I don't know off the top of my head.
Skyrim, Tamriel, Morrowind, Daggerfall.
Yeah. So, like...
I like the game.
Yeah. So people can, like, look at this and look at a climate and say, oh, hey, well, this one will take place over here, and whatever.
Exactly. So speaking of, we're talking about hyping up new releases, Warcraft 3.
Yep.
You know, the game that was released in 2003 got a reforging.
Yeah, so remaster, re-release, which I never really got into Warcraft. I enjoyed... It's weird. I liked Age of Empires, and for me, that kept me from enjoying other real-time strategy games.
Really?
Like, I would start to play others, and for the most part, they just felt more frustrating in their controls. Because Age of Empires, like, the first one was already 90% there, and they perfection by the time 2 came out. And so, like, I go back and I try to play, say, Command & Conquer Red Alert because I want to see Tim Curry yell, SPACE!
Space!
And it's just so... No, Tim Curry, not Christopher Walken. And it's just, like, so frustrating to try to use the controls because it's not what I'm used to and it feels clunky. And so, like, I didn't get into Warcraft just because by then I'd already kind of had my weird, misguided brand loyalty of real-time strategy. Nothing against it. I haven't played it enough to... Like, I played some StarCraft, and I got a sense of how its controls feel and everything like that. But I never, like, got around to finishing it. And certainly, again, I just never got into Warcraft. But, that being said, it's really exciting to see something announced for the Warcraft franchise that isn't more World of Warcraft.
I'm excited just as someone that does not have I didn't necessarily get to play Warcraft 3 because at the time I just did not have a PC that could run it.
Yeah.
I was playing the original Diablo, I was playing StarCraft, I was playing Warcraft, and then the expansion like Black Tide where they, all these things. So I really enjoyed those, and I'm really excited for more RTS that I'm going to be able to play. It's just definitely a game I'm going to look into. The fact that it's going to include... Warcraft 3 Reign of Chaos and the Frozen Throne, which was a very good storyline because I got really interested in the seeing all the billboards and the ads with the imagery that they had. Yeah. I got really interested in the lore, and so I just read about it.
At the same time, have you ever seen a remaster or re-release or anything that didn't just go ahead and include all of the DLC? But still, like, good that it's there.
The game's first balance changes in years were going to be announced. That's hilarious.
Wow. Well, no, even like before the latest Age 2 HD, Age of Empires 2 HD, they were still releasing little patches, little tweaks here and there. Like 15 years after release, which is really weird, but kind of really cool. Like somebody obviously still gives a crap.
Do you like RTS?
Yeah, I mean, it's not my favorite genre, but again, I'm going to say, well... rest in peace Ensemble Studios, but Age of Empires, I enjoyed Halo Wars as much as it was an RTS on the console. I think that it worked quite well.
It was a bold move, Cotton, and they got away with it, I think.
I enjoyed playing the first Homeworld game, although I could never get around to finishing it because it just kicked my butt too much. I did play Homeworld Deserts of Carrick when that came out and finished that a couple times over. There's a 14-hour stream somewhere.
Because I don't know about you, but there's nothing I derived more pleasure of than doing what I learned became called the Zergling Rush. But I would do it in Warcraft, where I would just spawn a billion footmen and just push them and just flatten the land in that way. Whereas when I played Age of Empires, did not do that.
Yeah, it doesn't really. It's not a strategy that can work in Age of Empires. You can't get together 50 clubmen and say, "Have at." Dead. All of them crushed by.
They'll develop
like
one
three
unit that's better
from...
than the clubmen, and then they're gone.
Oh, whoops! This war elephant has trample damage, and everyone's dead.
It made me like looking at the Warcraft 3 Reforged logo. You reminded me of times of yore, like with that whole idea. I also really enjoyed just this idea that, and especially in games where it has a plot, but in the same way that it is a plot, I'm not forced to stand in one place while a character talks. In the RTS games, it's here's this expansive world. Go do thing A. Just don't, don't lose this. And I really loved that idea. That's right. StarCraft got a remaster. Blizzard, you've already dug deep into my wallet, and you're going for more.
I need a Diablo 1 HD remaster. I need it.
I think you deserve it. I think we all do.
I need it.
Activision Blizzard has also made a very big move, which is one of the big topics we're talking about tonight. And I know for a fact that over the last couple of years, you've seen how much effort I have put into making an Overwatch League pick'em.
Yep.
And then how much I enjoyed the Overwatch League and watching that get played, things like that. Well, the league is starting. We also had an audience request for Diablo 2 remaster, which I would wholeheartedly love to play, because the plot of Diablo 2, I honestly, I'm almost positive because of having to put in another disc and wait for it to install, I walked away from the game.
Oh.
I know. I walked away from the game for a little while and then didn't come back for 3 months. Came back and my Barbarian was great, but I just didn't remember why I was where I was.
I remember with the Diablo 2 install, you do a full install, it was 2 gigabytes. I remember doing that on an almost brand new computer and being wowed by it, no pun intended, because my previous computer's hard drive was 2 gigabytes.
Good gourd.
Yep. Anyway.
No, but I just installing some of those games. Look how far we've come. Where 2 gigs, it's something to scoff at now.
Yeah, 2 gigs is oh, that's so awesome that this Xbox Live Arcade game is just 2 gigs. It's not going to add to my whatever. It's negligible. It's like putting a piece of paper on top of a stack. It doesn't matter, and it's going to be downloaded in 4 minutes. It's done.
Different discs for cinematics.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what it was.
Because there was the install disc, the play disc, and the cinematic disc.
So I checked. The Overwatch League is starting next week or the week after. Got really excited. Got really hyped. Started messaging everybody that I was going to announce who won the Overwatch League pick'em last year on the day of the first one, and then I got a tweet announcing that the Overwatch League was going to be on YouTube Play and not on Twitch.
YouTube Play?
Or YouTube Gaming.
Okay. At first I was like, wait, is this something that you gotta pay an extra sub for it? No, but it's streaming through YouTube.
So, just to give you an idea, Twitch gave Blizzard $90 million for exclusive streaming rights to the Overwatch League. So for 2 years, for $90 million, which makes me wonder, the article that I read on Kotaku, just because they're more easily reachable for me as a media outlet, just as a thing. But it's said that, Activision Blizzard is excited to expand into the YouTube gaming channels because they have an average of more just people.
Yeah.
More people have accounts with YouTube and things like that. But they absolutely said it stands to fact that more people on Twitch, though there are less of them, watch more content on using Twitch than do the people who have a YouTube account and then don't ever watch YouTube gaming. Like, you don't. I personally, I don't. The only people I watch live on YouTube are my friends at Geek for All, and that's it.
Yeah.
Like, everybody else, I'm like, this is a bother, and I'm not dealing with it. Like,
at the same time, if you don't already have a Twitch account, it's a big deal to get in that. And again, I'm thankful to more like Rigor Mortis, who made an account last week to join us here and to join me on the Citadel. But like, I fully admit that that's a big deal to sign up for yet another account on something. Whereas YouTube and like Facebook gaming, you have an account.
Yep.
If you don't have an account, you have an account.
You just don't know it yet, but...
Yeah. So, like, I do get that. The people that are already on Twitch are more likely to tune in for that kind of thing. They're more likely to do that. But to bring in new audience, I do think that... Like, I don't know if it's going to work long-term, but I think it's absolutely worth trying going to another platform like YouTube to bring in a new audience. Maybe they could... I would say... Like how Ninja went to Mixer because of how things went with Twitch. I don't know if you've checked in with him lately, but I'm pretty sure he's not really hurting for it.
I mean, his viewership is down to an iota of what it used to be, but at the same time, what does it matter because he's making bank?
Yeah, I mean, it's like, a well-engaged amount of people. And what you're looking for is that engagement amount. And the number of engaged people that were watching Overwatch League are going to be totally fine firing up their dusty YouTube accounts and going and watching there.
The thing I kind of don't... The things that are making me apprehensive as someone that loved the Overwatch League on Twitch was Twitch rolled out so many functions just for the Overwatch League. I had the ability to, if I paid an extra $20, it's a lot, but then I got to pick between all the players' cameras on each of their computers, and I could watch them. Okay. I do not think YouTube Gaming has an interface for that. I bet Overwatch League is just going to bring that interface over. But at the same time, that was really candy for Twitch because Twitch already has my money, and they have my account. Things like that. I don't know that I'm going to do that with YouTube because I don't necessarily want. Although it is Google, so they already have my money as well. But at the same time,
but Twitch is Amazon.
Yeah,
pick your frickin' poison.
So the other big things to come out. Well, the other thing that kind of made me mad was Overwatch League had emoticons and things like that. So now they all have dates on them, which means that now the 2019 ones are the last ones. And I'm like, well, I wanted to get more for my Twitch channel to be able to use them in chat.
You wanted to catch them all
on other channels, like. I have an incomplete Roadhog where it's the gun, his face, but not the chain. It's bastardized and it's wrong, Boater. It does. It really frustrates me. I can't deal with it. I didn't get a Reinhardt one, and it breaks my heart. But the other things that YouTube has managed to net
it breaks his Reinhardt
by doing this, bravo. By doing that is this one's for Friday catchphrase. Was that they netted not just the Overwatch League, which is very popular, is still growing, but they also got the Hearthstone esports, which had a very good and solid viewer base. Maybe they'll be returning. We'll see about how that controversy boils over. But they're also getting the newly minted Call of Duty League, which is going to be very interesting to see how that one goes, because that's going to appeal to a whole different audience that pretty much was not there before.
Yeah.
Because people that watch I can very broad sweeping generalize and say people that liked Overwatch and Hearthstone esports were not necessarily going to tune in to Call of Duty, and the people for Call of Duty weren't necessarily going to tune into those two.
There's not crossover, but clearly it's Activision moving their whole stable over to YouTube. And if you're going to start it somewhere, it's almost better. I think that starting it on YouTube is better than how they're moving something that had previously existed on Twitch over to YouTube.
Yeah.
So I have no problems with that one at all. YouTube gaming it's not really in its infancy anymore, but it's still a toddler when it comes to gaming streaming. It has its upsides and its downsides, and it's got creators that are there, whatever. But it's still very much, the little pony in the big horse's stable. And I think that this is going to be one of those things to see if it works. If it's going to work, it's going to work with Activision's weight behind it. If it doesn't work with Activision's weight behind it, YouTube gaming should kind of consider stopping. As far as like live stream type stuff, or at least stop trying to push things quite so hard, because if Activision can't do it, who can?
So Google is deep into this deal with Activision Blizzard, and something that came up in the article that I wanted to look more into, but there's not really much more information. So with a grain of salt, but the fact that people are now going to be using the Google Cloud to host the Blizzard games. So the thing that kind of plays into is Google just released a gaming console that's run solely off of the cloud.
Yep.
And people
they did that, didn't they?
Uber skeptical of it, and still should
Stadia,
be.
right?
Do not give them $60 for a game that one day they can turn around and say, by the way, we're turning off the service. Thanks for all the money.
Yeah.
And the fact that the games like the Batman, any of the Batman Arkham games are like $45. Don't spend that. Go to your local anywhere that still have them and get them for $20 like they should be. The other thing that Activision Blizzard got kind of excited about was they can go into the Google Cloud's AI tools and offer curated recommendations for in-game and differentiated gaming experiences.
Targeted ads using Google's massive ad system. Interesting.
Which will be super interesting and very frustrating.
At the same time, it's almost better than just getting like 3 totally irrelevant ads on Hulu's ad breaks.
To that account, I guess.
But at the same time, I bought a car online. I'm going through things. My Facebook ads are just like, heard you were buying a car. And just right. I'm like, dude, chill, please.
Hey there, pal.
So the plus and minuses to targeted ad buys.
It makes me worried because the fact that Activision Blizzard is Activision then Blizzard.
Yeah.
And that's going to definitely get used for evil.
Yeah.
Very quickly.
And Google's old motto of "Don't be evil" went out the window long ago. So
that is very true. So I was very crestfallen to hear that the Overwatch League will not be returning to Twitch. And the fact that, I was somebody that if you played Overwatch during the Overwatch League, at the end of the Overwatch League, people would, on Twitch, they would scatter to random Twitch streams.
Uh-huh.
So the fact is that, YouTube gaming's now going to be getting that part of the pie. I don't know that they even have the algorithms to refer you to other people.
Yeah, like rating and such really doesn't exist in YouTube gaming, which is... Yeah, that's a real downside for community building.
I mean, the good and the bad of it was that Blizzard never had the Overwatch League host anything other than their pre-approved stuff.
Yep.
So they didn't just raid just anybody, which was good because, again, you don't know what you're getting with some things. But if it's an employee streaming, you know that it's safe, or at least that there could be some sort of repercussion in-house.
Exactly, yeah.
For said dishonor. So I'm very disappointed that the Overwatch League is not going to be on Twitch, but I'm excited to see this season. They just, for those of you who do not know what it is teams from all around the world made up of players who were shopped by these owners. So, for example, the owner of the Boston Uprising is part of one of the owners is Robert Kraft, the owner of the New England Patriots. These teams aren't just they could disappear tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's not like they have that much of an established things like that, but the fact
but
that
they do have the Major League Sports style backing.
Yes.
Yeah.
I also kind of like that this year they changed the coloring for some of the teams, just because some of them were looking eerily similar on the maps, and so they've given it a little time to adapt and flesh out and see. So my San Francisco Shock, the champions of the 2019 league, might I add, got a bit of a redesign. So I'm really looking forward to seeing the gray, orange, and black as opposed to the white, orange, and black.
Okay.
But so we did have, a little bit of unfortunate news in regards to games we were super pumped about.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, Cyberpunk 2077 was pushed back to, I'm pretty sure, October. It was originally slated for, I don't know if you can check this for me, I want to say, it might have been June for the release. But this was going to be a really big game. It was going to be an open world, I mean, it still will be. A big open world game that people have been looking forward to a ton. Instant meme material with Keanu Reeves coming out on stage last year.
Oh, yes.
And just like, it looks really cool. It's been one of those things that the developers have been out in front of everything that's been happening with development and getting production shots out there, a lot of really cool stuff. And yeah, unfortunately it was delayed to September or October. And the articles talking about that took a different tack from what you've seen recently, in saying that, hey, this doesn't get rid of crunch. Like, when...
Just gives you more time to crunch.
Yeah, it gives you... it gives you a lot... Yeah, it's more... It's like, okay, cool, well, we can either ask for 3 7-day weeks out of all of our employees, or, you know what, we can get a lot more out of them if we're asking for 2.5 6-day weeks, 10 hours, 12 hours a day. I think that's going to be healthier for them. It's still crunch. It's still bad in the long run. No investor looks at it and says, you know what, we could totally have this out by April. But you know what, let's be good to those developers and call it beginning of June instead. Investors like, you can have it out by April? Cool, that's when I wanted to start printing money.
I'm excited for the delay of Cyberpunk 2077, knowing the company that made it. So conveniently, we're also still talking about the people who made the Witcher games, CD Projekt Red.
Yes, actually, that's one reason that I'm excited for it, is because CD Projekt Red.
And just the fact that they're not going to hit their stride with making games on the size of The Witcher and other titles that they've worked on, and then crap out something just because there was a lot of hype for it.
Yeah.
Like,
at the same time, CD Projekt Red is one of those developers that gets a lot of crap for crunch, and so when they're like, "Oh, we're delaying," everyone's like, "Tell us how work conditions are going to be for the next 4 months." When Square Enix pushed something back a month, they didn't get that kind of reaction. But CD Projekt Red, with a history of basically abusing their developers, at least as far as crunch is concerned, just gets a really close look. And so, ultimately, the game's going to come out. It's going to be awesome. People are going to enjoy it. And the developers are going to be hella burned out. And the most we can hope for is that the crunch isn't as bad as it might have been, and that they get some much-deserved vacation time afterward. But unfortunately, we know that that's not... Game development isn't in a healthy state.
People get who shot who in the what now?
Unfortunately, any industry that makes entertainment where your workforce is seated at computers most of the time gets shafted. And I'm talking video game design, I'm talking post-production in movies and TV shows and whatever. It's just awful work conditions. You need to be passionate about what you do. You need to care about what you're doing, because it's not going to care about you. And so I'm disappointed that Cyberpunk is getting pushed back. Unlike with the Sonic the Hedgehog movie getting pushed back, it's not like, oh, for the purpose of fixing something. It's just, oh, we need more time. Which also gets into like project management issues. You should know how much time you need for things, and looking and just seeing the cluster that some
how much you're paying your employees.
Yeah. I mean, that's the other thing on, your investors want you to start printing money in April. They don't want you to keep spending money until October before I can start printing money. Anyway, so yeah, Cyberpunk pushback. It's very disappointing, but I'm still excited for the game itself, and I hope the developers are able to keep some semblance of a life as they keep working on it.
Something that flew overhead, like some sort of Nimbus, and I almost forgot about this to tell you about it, but does the name Kakarot mean anything to you?
It's a Dragon Ball character, right?
Yes, it is. It is, in fact, the main character of Dragon Ball Z.
Okay.
Also known as Goku, but on the 17th for us, I was like, the 16th is not right. Like, on Japan, I got that on the 16th. On the 17th, we got yet another Dragon Ball Z game for the consoles.
That makes how many dozen?
I'm just going to quickly scroll down at the bottom here.
Oh God! If you need to scroll the list, that's enough.
Do you mean the action adventure, the role playing or card based games, the fighting games, or the crossover games for the Dragon Ball games? Because this one falls into the role playing card based, and there is at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
Everybody, we've lost Dan.
There is so many Dragon Ball games that you literally can't go anywhere without tripping over one.
Yeah.
And yet, this game, which has managed to literally just retread over a plotline that everyone and their mother knows by heart at this point, and that game's fun. Not gonna lie, the game's really, really fun because they took something that they do really well, which is having these characters, having the moves, all of the motions and all the capture things like that in the game.
It's almost like doing a remaster while giving yourself the freedom to not stick to what you had done before. You get to rehash it on your own terms. So I guess going back to what we were saying at the beginning of the episode, they're going back and pulling from that well, and dear God, there's still water there. Let's do what we want with it. Good for them.
I gotta say,
I don't give a shit, but good for them.
If you're a fan of the Dragon Ball Z franchise, Kakarot's definitely worth a look because it's open world. So it plays, in the events of, they're on Earth, the Saiyans invade, Vegeta and Nappa are destroying stuff, so you have to fight and all this stuff. But it allows for different stories to be told, things to be interpreted a little bit differently, and backstories for famous characters that you may have missed because you missed 2 episodes a week.
Yeah.
Or you didn't watch the 13th remaster of the series and of the franchise. So I really wanted to throw that one out when I I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I forgot to talk about that. But it's fun. It really is.
As long as we're talking about things that we enjoyed really quick, because I know we got to get to that. I'm going to go to books. Boo, books. And I just finished reading The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers, which, much as kind of how I said that Astral Chain was like an anime series, this kind of feels like a TV series. The first 4 or 5 chapters are like your 2-hour pilot where you're introduced to the characters, the setting, the main ship, and the conflict or the plot line that's going to drive the book.
Yeah.
And a lot of people said, oh, well, this isn't a plot-based book, it's a character-driven book. But what that kind of means to me is that over the course of this one novel, there are chapters or pairs of chapters that would be an episode of a TV series, like Stargate or something like that, where, this chapter has this situation come up. This character's visiting home here, and along the way, this affects the personal relationship of the characters because you see how this alien functions socially normally and how much they're holding back on the ship. These 2 characters hate each other. This one just gets arrested by a weird alien fanatical whatever, and the crew has to band together to save the asshole of the crew. And it's like these are all things that would be different episodes of a 24 episode season. And it just kind of deals with them along the way. This wraps up in a nice little bow, next chapter. And then your main plot that drives forward has a 2-part series finale at the end that focuses on that and how the crew manages that. I really enjoyed it. Again, that is The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. It is the first of 3 books in a series, followed by A Closed and Common Orbit and Record of a Spaceborne Few, which I'm going to be starting those next. So,
nice.
Good book. Read books.
So, we're going to do something very different here on the program.
We got a few minutes left, and Dave is excited for a thing that I'm...
Which
nervous isn't quite the right word, but...
Which scene is it, Dan?
We're figuring out switching the camera angles here. There we go.
Hello.
I don't think that's actually been switched yet. I think you need to hit the transition button.
In edit mode. Well, good. So no one saw me sifting through the screens. Hello there. You are much closer than you were last time. You're actually behind the counter now. Mondays at 5. But
okay, what do we got, Dave? Why have we brought people onto the set itself?
Well, I wanted everyone to get a more in-depth and close look at something that I found at Target, and I texted Boder and said, "Hey, want to try this on the program?" And he said no, and then I begged and cried, and then Steph told him he had to.
I just gave a very hesitant sure.
So, it is a something you can get at Target right now. It's in their Valentine's Day display. So if you have a beer aficionado in your family, this is something you can give them without actually having to give them the suds. There's 4 different kinds of bars, but I picked up the milk chocolate with hops, just knowing that if they actually put the hops in the chocolate, it'll have a distinctive taste, as opposed to...
What is going on over there? Dad's just climbing over the counter. It was the most bizarre thing I've seen.
But
yeah.
Dan, would you like to try some of the milk chocolate with hops?
With what?
Milk chocolate with hops.
With hops.
Hops, it's with an ingredient in beer.
I guess.
All right. So we're also getting Dan on his second taste test in one program.
Wow.
Couldn't get the man to eat mochi, though. In his defense, though, I did say, I'm going to go buy something really weird and unsettling. And then I came back and plopped it on the counter while Dan was playing Grand Theft Auto. So we did not get the golden ticket. It's still there. The bar itself, look at those hops. Look at that. Delicious.
I don't expect to enjoy this myself. I have not met a beer that I have enjoyed.
I expect this is going to taste a lot like chocolate.
Yeah, like it's like my speed is more beer that tries to taste like chocolate rather than chocolate that tries to taste like beer. But we will see what this is like.
This is by Happy Day Brands. Each bar has the word dream written on it, which, skepticism rising.
Yeah, it feels like those little Dove chocolates that have a little inspirational quote inside the foil wrapper. Like, book that plane ticket. I'm like, I work basically minimum wage. Book what plane ticket? A little Tykes, a paper airplane. Book
yourself a flight straight into the break room and take a nap.
Yeah.
So,
but you're on the clock while you do it. Don't get caught.
Dan, you want to come on over and have a nib? So I don't know what's the weirdest candy you've eaten.
Yeah, let's go with candy. And I mean, I'm gonna say Bean Boozled. That trumps a lot.
That's the weirdest one, though?
Yeah, I'm gonna say the weirdest. Yeah, I haven't had a lot of super weird candies.
The strangest one that I really enjoyed was indefinitely milk chocolate with Tabasco in it, and it was delicious.
Okay. Okay.
Although I'm a fan of spicy things, so it was right up my alley.
Yeah.
But the fact that my mother was able to find this, and she was like, "Oh, I think you'd like this," and I was like, "Wow, it's actually good."
It was, I think you'd like this. Thanks, Ma.
Dude, I forget the name of it, but I think I had it was like buffalo hot sauce in like a chocolate texture. It wasn't chocolate.
Oh, wow.
Obviously, it wasn't chocolate. It was like a texture like, I don't know what that's called.
I would be all about like a Frank's Red Hot chocolate bar.
It was almost like I wouldn't call it chocolate because it obviously wasn't chocolate, but it was made like chocolate. I don't know what that's called.
Should
Is
we make a Nerd Glasses Cook Something episode where we make Frank's Red Hot chocolate bars?
Yeah.
I'm surprised.
Yeah, no, I'd totally be down to try that. Yeah.
So, who wants to... I broke off a nib for everybody so that we didn't have to necessarily touch too much of the bar.
Dream.
Never coming on again.
All right. Dink.
Dan, you already sunk it. Wow.
That's a chocolate bar.
I'm not
Yeah.
sure I understand the other.
You must not have gotten the hops on your pizzas.
No, that was just a chocolate bar. Like
No, I taste whatever it is. I taste a little bit of it.
Does it taste a little earthy?
See, you're using words.
Yeah.
I mean, like.
No, I get what Dave's saying.
Yeah. No, okay. Yeah.
Like
there's
more
something different from a regular
organic
chocolate
based
bar.
rather than your.
It tastes like a chocolate bar more expensive than Hershey's.
So, this I actually really enjoy it because if you're a fan of IPA or things like that, it's a chocolate bar that tastes like what you would taste when you are drinking that particular beverage.
Okay.
Either of you like another piece?
Yeah, I'll try one more. I'll try one
very
more.
Good.
Yeah.
It melts right in your mouth right away.
Yeah.
So should I
Just see if I get a
should I grab another one of
additional-
these, another different one for next week?
Sure, I'm
I'm just
down
not sure
for
I
it.
get the what is it, IPA you said?
Yeah.
The hops.
Yeah.
I'm just not sure I get that. It does taste kind of. I'm not quite sure what the definition of earthy is, but it does taste like that.
Yeah, it tastes different, but I mean, like, yeah, it's fine.
I like it.
Earthy, Earthy explains it pretty well.
Slightly wasted on me, but fine. So, unfortunately, it is 8:30, which means that Death Stranding will have to wait until next week.
Son of a bitch.
Everyone, thank you so much for watching here at the Nerd Glasses Podcast. It has been a pleasure having you guys on. I will be joining you shortly after this on the Citadel, where I will be finishing Remember Me. So stick right here. It's going to take a few minutes while we're offline, and I get the next console plugged in, and then we'll start the pre-roll running. So stay right here, twitch.tv/InsaneGamesTV_. And then come back tomorrow. Dave, what have we got tomorrow on the channel?
Well, I know that we're looking at a lot of topics coming up for the shows on our the death of Kobe is definitely going to be a big thing tomorrow. And I haven't talked to anybody, but I know for a fact that it's going to be a big thing on the No Look podcast. I'm gonna my bit here on Ring the Bell, but we're gonna probably talk. They're gonna probably talk about the Royal Rumble, how we had a live stream of it.
Yep.
And that was a lot. I really enjoyed being on that, so thank you to Dan and Tyler for allowing me to guest on that. And on the weekend Wednesday this week, we're going to be playing more Medieval.
Nice.
Our friends Amber and Nicole are going to return, and we're going to be hitting that up pretty hard. So definitely make sure to hit that little heart icon, follow here, and hit that little bell so you get notified when the shows do change over, because we're starting to fill out the network. Don't know if you caught earlier today, but 2v Tuesdays started officially this week, and they went undefeated thus far.
Nice.
On the show. So we'll see how many episodes of 2v Tuesdays that they will go undefeated.
Awesome. Guys, thank you so much for watching. I will see you shortly on the Nerd Glasses on the Citadel. On the Citadel.
We'll see
This
you
has
next week
been
on
the
Nerd
Nerd
Glasses.
Glasses Podcast. We will see you next week. Thank you for watching, guys.